Thank you for tuning into this featured presentation. This video is sponsored by absolutely fucking no one, because no one knows who the fuck I am. This is Alan Woke.
What the fuck? What's up, guys? So this is the John David Gosch conspiracy. I'm just gonna dive right into this shit. No fucks given, going right into this. This is wild. It's wild as hell. So thank you guys for watching the Juice WRLD conspiracy video. I got a lot of views on that, and I really appreciate your guys' support on that. It means a lot to me. Let's fucking do this. Let's just get it into it. John David Gosch, paperboy of Des Moines, Iowa, missing since September 5th, 1982. The missing person case that swept the late 80s.
Back here in central Iowa marks 37 years since Johnny Gosch vanished on his paper route in West Des Moines. Gosch was reported missing back on September 5th of 1982. West Des Moines police say it remains an active case in their city. His disappearance is one of Iowa's biggest mysteries over the years.
As I said, John was a paperboy. The night before his disappearance, he asked his parents to do the paper route alone, as his dad usually accompanied him. Well, his parents told him no for obvious reasons, but that didn't stop John. He woke up at 5:45 a.m. to go do his route along with the family dog, Gretchen. Around 7 a.m., John's parents woke up and thought maybe their son had just overslept. They went to his room to find the bed empty. That's when the neighbors began to call the Gosch house, claiming they never received their papers. The dog had also soon returned shortly after the phone calls. Panicked, the search began for John Gosch.
All we want is our boy back, and we're willing to do anything to get him back.
Just 2 blocks down from his home, they found his red wagon along with the papers he was supposed to be delivering. Just vanished. This kid was gone. From 5:45 to 7 a.m. Gone. So before we dive into this, I just have to say Noreen Gosch is a fucking trooper. This woman never backed down and pushed so hard to find her son. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The search for Johnny Gosch began. I'm going to break this down into a timeline for convenience sake and just because so much happens in a chronological order. So obviously his parents went the full search mode for this kid.
To trace Johnny, they've spent $75,000.
We've had benefit dances, we've had garage sales, rummage sales, bake sales.
Noreen informed the police of a couple of odd occurrences just before the abduction. She would receive strange early morning phone calls that started a month before Johnny disappeared and stopped immediately after the abduction. What the fuck? Noreen even recalled a conversation Johnny had with a police officer under the high school stadium bleachers during one of his brother's football games. Who the hell has a conversation with a young boy under the bleachers at a high school football game? Police or not, that's fucking weird. Noreen called a press conference to alert people to the story. This resulted in the Gosch family receiving a death threat in which they were warned to stop making waves, alongside just many cruel fucking jokes and pranks on the family, saying, "Oh, I have your son," and just crazy weird shit, just fucked up. The Gosch family was so suspicious that Johnny had been abducted and forced into sex slavery. In December 1982, one of the first things private investigator Dennis Whalen did was attend a child auction in Houston, Texas to look for Johnny. Now, he went to many of these auctions. Weird. I don't know how we found out about him. I don't know how we got into them. I won't go into that. But these auctions would range from 6 to 30 kids being sold, none of which were Johnny. In March 1983, the Gosches had a small glimmer of hope after a year of no clues or leads. Johnny was believed to be seen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, being chased by 2 men.
This woman was at a convenience center, and a young boy came running up to her and screamed, "I am Johnny Gosch. Please help me. I've been kidnapped." Before the woman could do anything, 2 men came around the side of the building, grabbed him, put him back in a car, and then took off.
Unfortunately, the 2 men dragged the boy away before the woman could respond or act. So the woman obviously reported this to the police, but the police wrote it off as a family situation. In this video, you'll see how unhelpful the police are in the situation. It's crazy their lack of care and concern for this kid. So this woman knew for a fact this kid was John Gosch, as she had seen a TV drama about John's disappearance alongside the murder victim Adam Walsh, son of America's Most Wanted host, John Walsh.
But the most explosive and most publicized case centered around the kidnapping, torture, and beheading of a wide-eyed, freckle-faced little boy named Adam Walsh.
A private investigator working with the family and FBI had concluded that this boy was in fact John Gosch. So now in June 1984, a man named Sam Soda contacted Noreen to arrange a meeting under the basis that he was a private investigator who wanted to help search for Johnny. Noreen, being the fierce woman she is, agreed to the meeting and was also smart enough to record the encounter because she knew the police wouldn't believe her otherwise. Again, fucking useless. Noreen met with Soda at his office and informed Noreen that an informant had told him that another boy would be abducted on the second week of August, and he too would be a paperboy. Sure the fuck enough, on Sunday, August 12, 1984, Eugene Martin was abducted while preparing to deliver papers. What the actual fuck?
13-year-old Eugene Martin is abducted from the streets of West Des Moines. Like Johnny, Eugene is in the middle of his Sunday morning paper route.
The similarities are obvious.
How did this Sam Soda know what was going to happen? Who was his informant? I have none of those answers. I couldn't find those answers. Well, shortly after Eugene was taken, Noreen and a few other residents received this modified wanted poster right here. The poster has a sketch of a man linked to the blue Ford Fairmont. The car that was seen approaching Johnny before he was abducted was another sketch of a man who was a dead ringer for Sam Soda, along with a newspaper photo of him. Someone was trying to frame Sam Soda. I'm sure you're thinking that Sam was the actual kidnapper because of his mysterious entrance to the case, but I assure you, Sam Soda is legit. The guy is an actual private investigator. Sam not only predicted the second abduction, but also had a vast knowledge of the Omaha pedophile ring. Sam Soda was responsible for outing a pedophile who worked at the Des Moines Register, the local newspaper in Des Moines, Iowa. 37-year-old Frank Sikora worked in the circulation department and admitted to molesting as many as 14 paperboys. Oddly enough, Sikora had taken a polygraph test and was proven to have no connection to John or Eugene. Another lead buried. George Paul Bishop. This man claimed he was a CIA asset and arrived in Des Moines in July of 1984 to offer his assistance to the Gosches. Well, before he left Iowa, he was able to give a detailed map of the kidnapping and kind of give some pointers on what to look for. Bishop would often call the Gosch home from Washington, D.C. office of Senator Charles Grassley, with whom Noreen had worked on Johnny's case with. Here's the quote from the book. Many times Paul Bishop would call me from Senator Grassley's office, and when he finished speaking with me, he would hand the phone to one of Grassley's aides, who I was familiar with. Noreen believed that Bishop was responsible for securing her invitation to testify before Senator Arlen Specter's hearing on organized crime in the relationship to kidnapping at the U.S. Capitol. Bishop even picked Noreen up from the D.C. hotel and accompanied her to the hearings. So here's when the story of good old George Bishop turns dark. Bishop became close to Noreen, even referring to her as Mom, as stated in her published book. In 1985, Bishop had disappeared. His phone number was no longer valid and no one knew how to contact him. Fast forward 20 years, and suddenly he was arrested on February 4th of 2005 in Virginia. Police had found an explicit video of a 16-year-old boy in his home. Now this boy was not John Gosch, but was still pretty fucking sick. The kid was being molested by George Bishop. Detectives searched Bishop's home and found the tape after receiving a complaint that he was allowing teenage boys to drink and use drugs on the premises. Unfortunately, this is all I could find on Bishop, and his story ends here. So many questions are raised from this man alone, but sadly, no answers.
Man did appear at his mother's doorstep saying, "I am alive, here's my birthmark, I want you to see it, but you can't tell anybody because I could be harmed if you do."
In 1997, Noreen was visited by her son, as she said in a 1999 pedophile crime organization trial in Nebraska. Noreen said that he had visited in the middle of the night in March with an unidentified male and stayed for an hour. John told her he had been abducted by members of a pedophile crime ring. He said he had escaped from the group sometime earlier and was keeping a low profile to avoid repercussions from the former captors and would not be able to visit her again. Noreen maintained that she had no further contact with her son since that time, as she feared for his well-being.
I did see Johnny in March of 1997. He came here very late at night.
Noreen Gosch says her missing son Johnny knocked on her apartment door without any warning almost 2 years ago.
In 1989, a man would emerge from the shadows claiming to have played a part in the kidnapping of Gosch. This man was Paul A. Benassi.
Finally, in May of 1989, there's a break in the case. A Nebraska convict by the name of Paul Benassi tells the police that he knows firsthand what happened to Johnny.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. He had claimed the abduction was linked to a massive pedophile ring based in Omaha, which tracks with what John told his mother in 1997. This pedophile ring had tentacles that allegedly reached the highest levels of U.S. government. Here is where we delve into the madness of the John Gosch conspiracy.
Paul Benassi said I helped with the Johnny Gosch kidnapping. I was the one in the car. I was in the back seat. I was the one that jumped out and grabbed Johnny's legs, while the man who followed Johnny grabbed his shoulders.
21-year-old Paul A. Benassi told the attorney John DeCamp that he had been abducted into a sex ring with Gosch as a teenager and was forced to participate in Gosch's kidnapping. So get ready for this shit, motherfuckers. Noreen Gosch met with Paul shortly after his claim. Benassi told her that her son was taken into a, quote, ritual abuse / mind control program called the Monarch program. The children taken were used for pornography, prostitution, and various forms of abuse and control. I'm going to get into the Monarch program in part 2 of my video, but here's the rundown. This program was started and sanctioned by our government under the CIA MK Ultra mind control program.
You know what's best. What's best?
I feel just crazy just saying that. So, following Operation Paperclip. If you don't know what Project Paperclip is, it was the program after World War II in which the U.S. recruited former Nazi scientists to come work for us and show us their research. This is a fact. That's an actual thing that happened in U.S. history.
Do you like powdered orange breakfast drink?
No, not really.
How about microwave ovens, Neil Armstrong, hook and loop fasteners?
Okay, you lost me.
None of those things would have been possible without the Nazi scientists we brought back after World War II.
In fact, this is all facts. I'm speaking right now. None of this is even touching the conspiracy. Anyways, Benassi also told Noreen information about John only she would know. Things like the birthmark on his chest, which was actually being circulated around at the time, so it wasn't like that unknown of. As well as various scars on his body, and the creepiest thing yet is the stutter that John got, apparently, whenever he was upset. But of course the US government discredited Paul and refused to interview him. I mean, of course they did. This man is trying to blow the lid off a whole pedophile sex ring that involves the US government. Why would they go fucking look at him? Why would they even attempt? They would just discredit him as a fucking madman, which they did. Remember that Omaha sex ring I talked about earlier? Yeah, that comes into play with Benassi. Benassi accused Republican Party activist and businessman Lawrence E. King, Larry King, no, not that Larry King, who also served as a director of Franklin Credit Union in Omaha, Nebraska, of running an underage prostitution ring and victimizing him since an early age.
As part of the show, Benassi leads a film crew to an abandoned ranch in Colorado, where he claims Johnny Gosch and countless other boys were once held captive.
So the Franklin case is another portion of this conspiracy that I'm going to get into part 2. I know, I'm sorry, I keep giving you guys the tune into next time.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
But believe me, this is worth it, and there's a lot more ground to cover still with that case alone. That case spawns into like other fucking conspiracies. So for now, I'll give you the rundown again. Larry King was running a huge pedophile ring sanctioned by the government. He essentially ran a boys' home for U.S. politicians and higher-ups to come and pick up children, and even hosted many pedophile orgies. Paul Benassi was one of the over 80 children, as well as John Gosch, allegedly, but also not allegedly, depending on what you choose to believe, to be victimized in these parties and to be taken by higher-ups in the U.S. government. I want to puke. Benassi says the pedophile sex parties grew more gruesome and progressively got more fucked up. At times, he claimed he was tied up while other children were forced to sexually abuse him, and vice versa. Benassi claims he was tortured too.
Now Benassi is suing an Omaha businessman who Benassi says sexually assaulted him as a child. Noreen Gosch was on the stand confirming Benassi's story when the bombshell dropped.
The first of which involved cigarette burns on his arms and legs, which was a common thing to do, I guess, at these parties, he said, was for these guys to just burn these fucking kids with cigarettes and cigars. And, yeah. Everything I said in this video so far has been a fact. Like I said, I haven't even begun to touch the conspiracy of the John Gosch case. These are facts that I'm giving you. Usually I will tell you that I am not giving you a fact, these are just my beliefs, but these are the facts of the case right now. It's fucking disgusting. The ties to this case are numerous. I mean, it's connected with the Franklin case, Omaha sex rings, Project Monarch, MK Ultra, and our own U.S. government, which is not all that shocking considering all that has come to light in 2019 alone, amongst Jeffrey Epstein, which may also have ties to the Gosch case. I don't know. This is just a theory of mine through the Franklin case and the Clintons. Pedophile sex rings in the government is not an unheard of phenomenon. Everything is just fucked. Just fucked. So in part 2, we'll be tackling not only the aforementioned Monarch program and Franklin case, but also Bohemian Grove. Yes, that Bohemian Grove. I mentioned in my Instagram that after this conspiracy, I was going to work on another huge project in which I unravel a conspiracy involving Shane Dawson. I personally love Shane Dawson and his conspiracy videos. He kind of like got me into conspiracy videos. Maybe you want to start doing this. But there is something that is up with him. At any rate, guys, stay woke. Stay fucking woke.
I know that there are people in this town that don't believe it. They don't want to believe it, so they say Noreen Gosch is nuts. I don't care. I simply don't care. My first responsibility is to my son, because I'm the only one he has left.